Brock Purdy thing is sort of strange to me.
What is it?
That he's the MVP. I think he's a good football player, and he's the best quarterback that Kyle Shanahan has had to run this offense. But I do not believe he should be in the MVP conversation this year.
You're not the most valuable player on your own team on your side of the ball. No. And you're not even the second most valuable player. You're not even the third most valuable player. Best player. You got Trent Williams, got Deebo Samuel, you got Christian McCaffrey.
It would take Brock Purdy going 14-3, winning the rest of the games and dominating to win MVP. Now, as an MVP voter, full transparency, I will likely not have him #1 on my ballot.
Perfectly floated wheel routes to Christian McCaffrey and deep shots to Deebo Samuel simply didn't happen with Jimmy Garoppolo at the wheel. And it remains to be seen whether the Brock Purdy experience has a fairy tale ending, but his journey up to this point has all the characteristics of a true underdog classic, from being overlooked by elite colleges, almost being able to never throw a football again, to now becoming the frontrunner for the MVP and the Super Bowl favorites. This is the story of Mr. Irrelevant and how he became an NFL legend. Purdy grew up in Queen Creek, Arizona, where he played quarterback for the Perry High School Pumas. A 27-13 record helped raise the profile of the dominant quarterback, earning him recognition as Arizona Republic's High School Football Player of the Year. A 3-star rating followed, along with an offer from Nick Saban and the prestigious Alabama Crimson Tide program. Whilst an offer from Alabama is something that most players would dream of, there were unfortunately only 4 other universities who wanted to make Purdy their quarterback. And as hard as Alabama is to turn down, after an underwhelming meeting with Nick Saban, Purdy decided to look elsewhere. During the meeting, Saban bluntly referred to Purdy's strength as whatever and said that his accuracy was average. He knew that Saban had made no effort to get to know him as a prospect.
And at the end of the day, my heart is in Ames, Iowa, at Iowa State University.
The decision to become an Iowa State Cyclone paid off quickly for Purdy, as he found himself in a starting role early in his freshman year. His best statistical season came as a sophomore when he passed for 3,982 yards and 27 touchdowns. But it was in 2020 that he truly became an Iowa State legend. As a junior, Purdy led the Cyclones to a 9-3 record, a Fiesta Bowl victory over Oregon, and their first ever appearance in the Big 12 championship game. However, this wasn't a fairy tale ending that they all had wished for, unfortunately losing to Oklahoma in the championship game. But it was a remarkable season for Purdy and the Cyclones. He earned himself first team all Big 12 recognition, which was a feat he would achieve again in his final season the following year. Purdy finished his college career with over 12,000 passing yards, 81 touchdowns, and just 33 interceptions. He led the Big 12 in passing yards as a sophomore and as a senior, helping the Cyclones achieve 4 consecutive winning seasons for the first time since the early 1900s. But despite all of his success at college, Brock Purdy still entered the draft season as a forgotten prospect. No one took note of his statistical prowess in the Big 12 or his efforts in leading Iowa State to their first ever conference championship appearance. NFL front offices couldn't see past his diminutive stature and athletic abilities. I mean, The Athletic even reported that one scouting evaluation pinned Purdy as someone who works through his reads but lacks arm strength and the athletic ability to play the quarterback position at the next level. As a result, he slipped further and further down the board until the 49ers picked up the phone.
Hey buddy, this is John Lynch from the 49ers.
Yes sir, how you doing?
I'm sorry it took till the end. We find you very relevant, but you are going to be Mr. Irrelevant.
Yes sir.
All right, man. So we're thrilled to have you part of us, okay?
Yes, sir. No, I appreciate it.
Yeah, we're fired up.
He shook it. He goes, nope.
It's another free agency call, and they're like, no way, you're lying. I said, that's it.
We're like, gosh, do we believe him? Nobody knew if we did.
And I'm trying to act all sad in the chair, and then...
With the 262nd pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers select...
And the Mr. Irrelevant tag is well known in the NFL, but it is hard to deny that it doesn't exactly set your career off in the right way. Brock Purdy was a winner for Perry High School, a history maker for Iowa State, but only a Mr. Irrelevant for the San Francisco 49ers.
Never was it about a school record, never was it about
man, being an All-American or being a first-team All-Conference guy, Brock's all about the team. What has always made him unique, he's had the ability to do what's best for the team, and all Brock wants to do is win. That intangible of, I don't really care what's best for me, I only care what's best for the team, and I'm going to do whatever I can to let the team win.
Those who knew Brock, though, throughout his high school and college days knew that he was more than Mr. Irrelevant. His coach at Perry High School references Purdy's ability to be a leader at a young age.
He's a natural leader from day one. When Brock first started really coming to in his leadership, it was when he would be able to get guys that were his same age group and his friends and his peers to just stop at a drop of a hat and listen to him.
And the label of Mr. Irrelevant was the perfect chip on his shoulder to create an unlikely NFL legend. As we all know, Purdy's time at San Francisco started as a third-string player backing up Jimmy Garoppolo and last year's #3 overall selection, Trey Lance. And it took just 13 weeks for both players ahead of him on the depth chart to end up on the sidelines. Brock Purdy's first proper NFL action came against the Miami Dolphins. He stepped onto the field in the first quarter to replace Jimmy Garoppolo. And from that point on, Jimmy Garoppolo would never get his starting position back. Purdy completed 25 of his 37 pass attempts for 210 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. In doing so, he became the first Mr. Irrelevant to throw a touchdown pass. The 49ers swept aside the Dolphins, and Purdy passed his first major test. The next test to face was his first career start, which just so happened to come against a certain quarterback we all know. And not being overwhelmed by the situation, Purdy completed 76% of his passes, throwing for another 2 touchdowns and no interceptions. Purdy led them to an impressive 35-7 victory, earning a passer rating of 134 for his efforts. I mean, hell, that's not pretty bad for your first start.
Mom and Dad are having a moment right now. This is pretty special to watch.
Purdy threw at least 2 touchdowns in each of the remaining 6 regular season games, helping the team win every single one. A wild card round clash with the division rival Seattle Seahawks provided the platform for Brock Purdy's best game as a pro. In that game, he threw for 332 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. Brock Purdy had gone from Mr. Irrelevant to a pivotal player on a Super Bowl contender in a matter of weeks. He was the first 7th round rookie quarterback to win a playoff game, and people began to wonder whether the fairy tale story was going to go all the way to the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, though, there was no happy ending. We're just 1 game away from the Super Bowl. Brock Purdy took a hit to the elbow and was forced to leave the divisional round clash with the Philadelphia Eagles in the first quarter. The 49ers went on to lose the game, marking the beginning of an offseason that was dominated by questions at the quarterback position. I mean, after all, it was a few years earlier that San Francisco decided to go all in on a new quarterback after a small sample size of wins. There were still doubts surrounding Purdy's future and whether he was as good as his rookie tape suggested. Jimmy Garoppolo's exit set up a head-to-head camp battle between the 49ers' 2 recently drafted quarterbacks, Trey Lance, who was fighting to shed a reputation of draft bust, and Brock Purdy, who was fighting to shed a reputation of Mr. Irrelevant. It is pretty ironic that the 2 quarterbacks fighting for the starting position on a Super Bowl contender were selected at polar opposite ends of the draft, with each player boasting a professional portfolio that matched the other's draft pedigree. Trey Lance was out to prove that he could perform like a #3 overall selection should, and Brock Purdy was out to prove that his first-round worthy performances were not just smoke and mirrors. Purdy's journey to do so started on the back foot, with his elbow injury not allowing him to step on the field until well into training camp had started. Nevertheless, a few weeks into the preseason, Lance was traded to the Cowboys, and the starting job was Purdy's. Brock picked up right where he left off as a rookie. The 49ers won their first 5 games of the year, during which time Purdy had thrown for over 1,000 yards and 9 touchdowns with no interceptions. And I mean, the stat lines from these games were insane. It featured a 95% completion game against the Cardinals and a 4-touchdown game against the Cowboys. Any doubts over the 49ers' decision to stick with their Mr. Irrelevant were long gone. A mid-season wobble led to a 3-game losing streak for the 49ers, but life since the bye week has been good in the Bay Area. Brock Purdy's 3,553 passing yards after 13 games are good enough for 3rd in the NFL, and he leads the league in several quarterback categories. In addition to lighting up the box score, the 49ers win column in performances against NFC rivals has propelled Purdy into the MVP conversation. The Mr. Irrelevant tag has well and truly been defeated, but why has he been so successful? The willingness to be aggressive downfield has brought much excitement to 49er fans, but it is what goes on between the ears that has made Purdy so special. Having started 4 seasons worth of games at Iowa State, Purdy entered the league with experience. He knew how to run an offense, and he knew how to progress through his reads. He played with confidence and was able to throw with elite anticipation from the get-go. To put it frankly, he was good at the quarterbacking fundamentals. Brock Purdy never deserved to be the final pick in the draft. Everything that makes him so good for the 49ers was there to see. The best example of this is the result of his S2 cognitive test, in which Purdy scored in the mid-90s. That placed him next to the likes of Drew Brees and Patrick Mahomes. I mean, for context, anything above an 80 is considered elite. So for Purdy to score in the 90s showed that he was truly special. Future Hall of Famer Steve Young pointed out that Purdy was likely overlooked in the draft because his invaluable ability to stay calm under pressure could easily go unnoticed. Well, it's safe to say people are noticing that now. Ryan Suckup is the only Mr. Irrelevant to win a Super Bowl ring. Will Purdy become the second? Let us know down in the comments below. How good are the 49ers, and who do you guys have winning the Super Bowl? I'll catch you guys in the next one.